Hey everybody, in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to recreate this creepy looking Joker character that you see on the screen right here. I'm using the facial puppet tool to kind of give him a creepy smile. We're going to be using 3D Coat to create a custom normal map. As you can see the scars on the side of his face there. We're going to be recreating that from scratch, as well as the cool makeup job that I've done for his face. Luckily the Joker isn't too picky about his makeup, and neither will we be. So let's just go ahead and move first into Character Creator, and we're going to see Joker without makeup. By the way, this is the image I'm using for inspiration for this tutorial here. You can see a very evil looking Joker with some scars on the side of his mouth there, like the Dark Knight type Joker, and white makeup, and so on and so forth. So let's just go ahead, close this down, and I'm going to go into Character Creator like I said, and here we have a dude with a messed up purple suit and a green shirt. And this is essentially what we're going to be using as our Joker base. So this is going to be the Joker without all that weird makeup. So you can see I've created a gaunt looking face here, kind of creepy with big ears and sharp features. So this is what we're going to be using as our base right here. And I haven't applied any hair yet, because hair kind of gets in the way when you're modeling, when you're creating your normal map in 3D Coat. So let's just go ahead and export this guy to iAvatar format first, because we need to take him into 3D Exchange. So I'm going to go up here to Export iAvatar. And once we have that set up, let's go to make sure that our skin head resolution is 2048 by 2048. We want a pretty high resolution on the head since we're focusing on our character's head in this tutorial. So let's just press OK. We'll call him Joker. Alright, and we'll save him to our desktop. That's fine and dandy. And once he's saved to our desktop, we're going to import him into 3D Exchange. And once in 3D Exchange, we're going to export him to OBJ format. So let's go to our desktop here and into 3D Exchange. And once we're in 3D Exchange, we can just go to File and Open. We want to open that Joker iAvatar file on the desktop. Okay. And once this guy's in 3D Exchange, the only thing we really need to do here is simply export him to OBJ format, nothing else. So we have the character. All we need to do is go up here to Export to OBJ. You can also use the Control-B hotkey. And we'll call him Joker for lack of a better name. And I'm saving it to a folder on my desktop called OBJ. You can see it over here. Now the reason I'm doing this is because when you export it to OBJ format, it's also going to export a bunch of texture maps and a material file as well, which I'll show you in just a sec once we press OK. You can see our OBJ folder there gets filled. We can close down 3D Exchange now. We no longer need it. We've successfully exported to OBJ format. You can see right there. And all these miscellaneous texture maps, including normal maps and specular maps. So we're good to go from here. All we need to do is go into 3D Coat now. So once in 3D Coat, we need to just go to File, File there, and Import, and Model for Per Pixel Painting, P cubed. And then we need to select our Joker.obj. And let's go down to our maps right here. And there's one that's 2048 by 2048 right here. Decided to call it Joker Default 39. That'll be our head map, so we just need to worry about that one right there, and we'll just press OK. It doesn't really matter. We're just going to paint on the top layer anyways, and I'll show you we're just going to export those maps anyways, regardless of the layers. So let's just go ahead and zoom in on our character. Now the controls are a bit different from iClone, so it'll take a little bit to get used to here. Alright, so what we want to do first is we want to create those evil looking scars on the side of his mouth there. And I find that the best way to do that is to use this cool alpha brush right here. You can just, right up here, by the way, we currently have normal painting selected. So we're creating like a, depth map on our character. So if I, move around like this, we can create a scar on his head. We can press Control-Z to undo that. If we go here and change to color, opacity, we can select a brush like this and kind of brush on his head. We need to select the layer first, I believe. There we go. And we can paint, all over his face like that. But what we're going to do first is do the normal map. So let's go to our normal, or our depth section right here, and choose that same scarring area, or that alpha brush right there. Now, if you right click and drag to the right and left, you can increase or decrease the radius of your brush. If you right click and go up and down, you can increase or decrease the depth and severity of your brush as well. So we'll just keep something like that, maybe a little bit smaller. And all I'm going to do is simply click and drag along my character's cheek there to get that kind of gross, evil looking scar stuff right there. I think that'll be fine. And let's just go to the other side and do the same thing. Let's just click and drag like this, right along the cheek line. Ew, looks pretty nasty. Maybe add another one there. And you know, we can add more detail to this as we go along, but for now that'll be okay. The one thing that I do want to do though is I want to add a little bit more of a detailed stitching pattern onto that. So I'm going to select my regular brush and then go over here to strips. And in strips we have this stitching kind of pattern. It's kind of like a binder clip pattern, I guess you can call it, but it looks like a stitch when we apply it. So we'll select that one right there, and you can see if I just simply apply it, this is what it's going to do to our character's head. So it'll create kind of like a weird looking stitch. I'll just Control Z and undo that right now. Let's zoom in a little bit. I'm going to make my brush a little bit smaller by right clicking and dragging and going to about that level right there. And let's just do the same thing along the same level right here. So you can see we're creating that. Let's maybe Control Z that, make a little bit more depth. Let's make it a bit more severe, something like that, so you can see it a little bit better. Again, I'm clicking and dragging right here, and we're creating that stitch right there. So there you go. It just creates a little additional detail on top of that gross-looking scar material there. So he didn't do a good job stitching him up. So we'll just do the same thing on the other side. Again, creating that pattern over top. And I'm using a mouse here, so I apologize for the inaccuracies, but I think we're pretty good for the normal map. Now, if we wanted to, we can add some more details onto various parts of our character's face. We're not going to do too much into detail here, but I'm just going to go to under strips. I'm not going to choose that hinge anymore, or that binder thing. I'm going to go close, and I'm going to go to alphas now. And with our brush, we can make our brush, let's make it a little bit larger and maybe a little bit less depth there as well. So something like this, about average depth. Now what I want to do is I want to try and make our character look a bit more gaunt. And to do that, I'm going to take some depth out of his eyes there. Now, if I paint like that, you can see I can paint over top. It'll extrude the mesh of the character's face. Let's just Control Z that. Let's make it a little bit larger. Now if I press Control, notice that that bump there changes from red to blue. So red and blue if I press Control. And I can just click and drag and create like a gap like this. Now that seems to be a bit too extreme, so let's make our depth a little bit further down there. And Control, click and drag. There we go, something like this. We're just trying to create a kind of a gaunt look on our character's face. And if we hold Shift and click and drag, we can kind of smooth that out along the edges. So Shift, you can see the bump turns to like a green color. And then we can just kind of click and drag and smooth it out a little bit along the edges right there. And we can make our brush smaller. We can Control, click and drag to make another kind of layer like this, and then again smooth that out. Let's just try and smooth it along the edge right there. Now we're creating sort of like a weird, kind of gaunt look to the eye right there. Let's do the same thing for the other eye. So again, Control, click and drag. We'll create that, depth in the eye there. Control, click and drag maybe here, and Shift and click and drag to smooth that out. I find this is a really quick and easy way just to, I'm not a pro modeler here by any means, I'm actually quite the amateur, but I find this is effective at creating sort of a messed up look on the character's face anyways. So we can get an effect like that. Now let's do the same thing for the ridges of the head here as well. We want to create sort of like an effect like that. Something like this. That's a little bit extreme, of course, but we can, of course, hold Shift and click and drag and smooth it out, just so it's a bit less prominent on his head there. And we'll just continue with that. I think that looks fine. Again, not going into too much detail here. Maybe Control, click and drag. Oops. Let's make that depth a little bit less, a lot less actually. Let's Control, click and drag there. You see we get a much smoother effect. And we can smooth that out. And it also helps us to create sort of a bumpy, angry kind of area right here. Now I'm going to just click and drag to the left here to make a really small brush. Go up a little bit for a bit more depth. And I'm going to create, hold Control again, click and drag some kind of, angry looking lines in our character's head. Now these obviously are really, really drafty, really crappy. But if we hold Shift again, we can just smooth things out and make it appear quite a bit smaller. and a bit more natural into the character's head there. So we can do something like that. There we go, just kind of click and drag along the edges there. Again, I'm not the best person to be studying when you do 3D coat, but there's a lot of other tutorials out there that are really great for creating this sort of effect. There we go. Again, I'm just basically using Control and clicking and dragging, or else just clicking and dragging with different effects, and then holding Shift to smooth it out. Just the same thing. And you can spend really all day on this, but we don't have all day here, so I'm just going to try and make this look reasonably good. Okay, I think we'll have to work with that there, and you smooth it out here on the top here. Whoops. Control Z that, hold Shift, smooth it out a little bit on the top there. Alright, there we go. We're going to work with that, and we can maybe do a couple lines here along the eyes as well, just to give them that sort of more gaunt appearance as well. Again, really SketchUp job here, guys. So there's tons of artists out there that are far superior to the stuff that I'm doing right here. Let's smooth that out. I just found out you can actually use a Surface Pro, which I just purchased, as a pad as well, or the tablet rather. There we go. All right, so he's tired of being all crazy all the time, so he's got this kind of gaunt look on his face. All right, I think that's all we're going to do for right now. That we're going to work with that as far as normal maps are concerned. I think we've kind of expressed, given him the gauntest possible look we can have. This is what I imagine Joker looks like without the makeup, and you can spend all sorts of time, adding and modifying things with your normal map as well. But we're going to work with this for now. All right, so the next item of business is to export this as a normal map. So we're going to export all this data that we've just kind of pumped in here, all the modeling that we've done, as a normal map. Now to do that, all we need to do is go to Textures. I'm going to go down to Export here, and we need to select Normal Map TS Low Poly Mesh right here. Just select that item right there, and we want to make sure that we select that Joker Default 39, I believe it was called. Sometimes it'll export as head, so just be aware of that. It's a lot easier if it exports as skin head, but I believe it was Joker Default 39. So let's press OK, and I will save this as a PNG file. We'll call it Joker Normal. Okay, and save it to our desktop. Now I'm going to go into Character Creator right here, and we're going to apply that normal map to our character's face. So let's see the change that happens right here. We'll go to our Appearance Editor. With our actor selected, I'm going to activate the Appearance Editor. And once that loads up, let's go and find our head section right here, skin and head. And under head, we'll go to Head Surface Normals. Now, under the Wrinkles Normal channel right here, you can just double click on that. And let's load in our Joker Normal now. Now, nothing's going to happen because we don't have type set to input yet. So let's go to Type and Input. And we need to change these sliders now. So let's go ahead down to the bottom slider, in this case, which is Other and Black. Pay attention to the colors in the parentheses there, and I'll tell you why in just a sec. And let's increase that age. So when we increase the age, you can notice that all the changes that we made to our normal map, we can increase or decrease the severity of those. Now, obviously, the strength there is a little bit too severe. I've probably went a little too overboard with that. So we can just kind of keep that a little bit lower, I believe. Something like that might be okay. It's actually not that bad because it'll be painted over in the end anyways. So we'll just use something like that. Just ignore the extreme darkness right there. I think that should be fine. At least you can see the kind of angry little area there we made in the middle of the between the eyebrows. Now, all of these other sections right here, they won't really matter right now. But let's go and change our RGBC mask. Let's double click on that channel right there. And I'm going to load in the custom RGBC mask from our Character Creator Custom Essentials Learning Resource Pack, which I have in this Production Resources folder. So you'll have this folder, CC Essential Learning Resources, if you purchase that pack. And under folder 3, we have Head Surface Normals. Let's load in that face RGB. Now you notice that things change a little bit on the face. And this is because now we have this RGB mask. Now if you take a close look at it, Notice that the red section right there is kind of above the eyebrows. The green section is on the cheeks. There's a little blue section for the nose and a cyan section for the chin. Everything else is black. So that's where these colors here come in handy. So for red, for example, is the forehead. Let's change the red age. You can see now when we change the age on the red slider, we have a more extreme example right there. We can change the roughness right there, and that only affects that little area that's indicated by the forehead. So let's keep the roughness relatively far down. We don't really need it to be too high. And we can increase the strength right there. And again, a little bit too extreme, but something like that would be okay. And now we can modify that separately from all the other sections of the face, which is really cool. And that's why the RGBC mask, or RGB mask, comes in handy. And you can go to the cheeks as well and age the cheeks specifically. So right here, if we age the cheeks, we'll get that effect right there. We make them a little bit more gaunt, increase the strength. Again, nothing too extreme. We'll keep it around 75. There you go. I imagine Joker looks something like that without the makeup on. And then you can use blending, and blending will kind of blend into the other. You can see there's a little bit of blending going on in the closer to the nose, that area right there. It's not having too much of an effect in this particular case. Then you can also go to the nose. There's not really much of an effect on the nose because we didn't do anything. We can change the roughness of the nose, which you can see on the end. That's kind of built in with Character Creator. And then the other section on the bottom here, you can change that right there. So, you know, something like that would be fine. We maybe went a little bit overboard on those normal maps for the eyes, but actually looks kind of interesting with that, with the dark areas under the eyes, I think. And we're going to emphasize that further as we paint our character's face. So for the painting, let's go back into 3D Coat right here, and let's change from depth to our opacity section right here. Now let's find that default 39 layer right there. Doesn't really matter, we can just choose any layer really. We're going to just be exporting it all together anyways. So what I'm going to do is make sure right now my palette is at white, a pure white right there. That's about as pure of a white as you can get there. You can change the lightness to 100%, saturation to 0 just to make sure, and press OK. And let's make sure our brush is a little bit larger, so right click and drag, something like this, and then we can just paint all over our character's face. Now don't worry about the accuracy here, because obviously if you've seen, you know, the Batman movie, you know that Joker isn't really that much of a stickler about his makeup. So we're just going to make sure our brush is maybe a little bit larger so we can get it better, do this a little bit faster. We're just going to really plaster this white stuff all over his face here. There we go. And up on the forehead right there. And don't worry about the eyebrows because those are going to be placed over top. Oops. The controls are a little bit different than iClones. So sometimes you think you're zooming in, but you're actually panning around. So yeah, we're just going. I'm not going to really worry about getting the paint in his nostrils at this point. Let's go along the edge here. Just using our basic brush again. There's a little bit of an edge there for some reason on the chin. I don't really want that. And I think we're almost done. There we go. And let's try and get a little bit more further up on the forehead. Okay, that should be fine. All right, so we've got our base white layer right there, which is fine and dandy. Try to get a bit more on the chin. All right, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. I think that'll be fine. So what we want to do now is we want to draw some black stuff around the eyes. This is kind of, you know, taken from the Black Knight, or sorry, rather the Dark Knight, the Black Knight, the Dark Knight Joker. So I'm going to take this brush here. This brush is kind of cool right here, and we're going to change our palette color to black. So let's change our lightness all the way down to 0 and get a pitch black right there. Press OK, and then we can do something like this. Now, the reason I'm using this kind of brush is because we want sort of a edgy effect. You can also use something like this one right here as well. This would kind of, you know, create this sort of messy effect around the eyes. And again, I'm just using a really big brush here because we're doing a really sketchy job. There's something like that. Okay, we're not going to spend too much time worrying about the accuracy. Let's just click and drag on the other eye here as well. And kind of create a black painted area around the eyes. We can kind of make our brush smaller as well. Let's try and do something like this, and maybe it's a little bit too small. There you go. Just want to kind of get in there on the nose there a little bit. And I think something like that would be fine. Now we can also, use a regular brush like this to kind of smooth out certain areas if we didn't want to have too much of that kind of edgy weirdness along there. We can make it more realistic, and even better, we can probably change this back to white, pure white. Let's just change that lightness to 100% there, and go along the edge like this. There we go. So it doesn't look like it's just streaming out in all directions, although that does kind of look pretty cool, but let's just try and do something like this. We want it to be more coming out more along the sides there, along the edges of the eyes, so we can do something like this here. All right. I just want to make it look as chaotic as possible, to be honest, so let's just try and do this. And all right, we're not going to spend too much time worrying about that. I think the left eye is a little bit larger, though. Let's try and fix that up. I can use this brush right here and just move this out like this. There we go. All right, a little bit larger. Okay, that's going to be good. And now for the fun part, we get to paint his lips. So let's change the swatch color to something like a red. Let's go to a mid color here. Maybe something a little bit lighter, and get a nice poppy red right there. There we go. Press OK on that. And then we just need to paint along the scars. So let's have fun doing that. Let's just go zoop like that. Again, very similar to what we were doing before. And just along the lips right here. We don't have to worry too much about it. I'm going to even out the lips a little bit later. Oops. I think we kind of went off there. Again, he's not a real stickler about his makeup, I don't believe, so we can, create some messy kind of patterns over here as well, just something like that. And then we can take our go back to a white color here. Saturation 0, lightness 100. There we go. And choose a brush like this and kind of just even it out along the edge there. Not to be too weird looking. Alright, so again, you can spend all the time in the world messing around with Joker's makeup if you want, but I think we're good at this point right here. And you can also, use your erase tool as well. Down here, here's our eraser, and we can just use this brush right here to kind of create some areas where maybe his makeup is kind of coming off in the middle right here. Or the erase tool probably won't work in this case. We probably want to use our eyedrop tool and maybe select something like the ear. We got that kind of color right there, and then just paint. So let's try and do something like that. I think that'll probably be effectively be a little bit better there. There we go. We can, just have some small areas like in the middle there where his makeup's coming off. There's no white or black makeup. Something like that. And you can spend a lot of time doing that. Do something a little bit smaller, and along this area right here, or something like. And we probably want to smooth this out a little bit. And you can do the same process by holding Shift and kind of smoothing stuff out like that. And we get something like this, a pattern like this. There we go. All right, so that's all the time we're going to spend on painting the character's face. And now the moment of truth, where we're going to export the diffuse map right now of the character's face. Let's go to Textures and Export. And this time we want to select all layers color, because that's pretty much the color. Again, the same UV set, Joker Default 39, which was our face. Now let's press OK. Now we have to export this as a PSD file, so let's just call it, Joker Face Diffuse, and save that to our desktop. And then back in our desktop, we have Joker Face Diffuse right here, so let's just simply double click that, and that'll load up Photoshop. And then in Photoshop, all we need to do is export it as a PNG file. You can see it looks kind of messed up there, but all we need to do is go File, Save As, and we'll save it as a PNG file. We'll call it Joker Face Diffuse, same thing, that sounds fine, and save it. There we go. Okay, and let's go back into Character Creator now, and let's load in that facial diffuse map. So let's go to the top here. Once we're in skin and head, we need to go now to head and base, and simply just double click on the diffuse channel, and let's go to the desktop where we saved it, and there's our Joker Face Diffuse. And there's the diffuse map on our Joker's face right there. So we've got this crazy looking clown Joker. Again, we can spend a lot more time on that, but just kind of want to show you the basics here. So then from this point on, we can just go into iClone here. Let's just close down Photoshop to save some resources. And we can go into iClone here. Let's take this character and delete this character right now. Let's just close down the facial puppet tool first though. We'll just delete this Joker right here. And we'll go into Character Creator. And with this character selected, let's just go Export to iClone. And once we have that selected, or once we have that exported, we can go into iClone, and here's our creepy Joker character. Let's use the // to change our lighting a little bit so get a better look at our character's face. And then we can give him some hair as well. Let's go to our Content tab, into Avatar. We need to go to Accessories rather, and then we have Hottest Hairstyles right here under Hair. Let's choose something like this side parted hair and just apply that to our Joker character. There we go. And well, it looks a little bit far back, so we can just press the W hotkey and kind of move it forward a little bit. Something like this will be a little bit better. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about the accuracy of the hair right now. And then, of course, we need to change that hair color to something green. So let's go to our materials. And with our hair selected, you can see our diffuse map right there. All we need to do is go down to our hue, saturation, brightness, and all that stuff, change to a nice healthy green color, and you decrease the brightness a little bit. And there we have our evil looking Joker. And then we can go ahead and with our character selected, not with the hair selected, select our character, use the facial puppet tool, and I used Christian in this really happy expression right there, because Joker looks pretty crazy right there, so you can give him an expression like that. And there is our normal map on the side of the mouth. You can see those scars really bending. It looks kind of creepy. And we can probably give him some dirty or nasty teeth if we wanted to, but that's the basics right there. So that's basically how you can use 3D Code, a really awesome and multifunctional program that allows you to create both your own normal maps and your own diffuse maps at the same time and get awesome results like this. So that's about it for this tutorial, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check out our forums at forum.reallusion.com and talk with our community about your character creator creations. And I'll see you next time.